Today I want to show you how I created Boss AI using State Component and one other of my marketplace products, which is Static Mesh Tracing plugin. This is a plugin that you can use to detect collision between static meshes and any other object. So in this example, I will obviously use it to detect collision between weapons and player. So as always, let me show you the end result. So we start at the, outside of the boss vision range, we enter, he plays some battle entrance animation. This would probably normally be a cutscene, and the battle begins. He has 3 attacks. This is his combo attack. Yeah, there are 2 more. This is basic swing attack. And we are waiting for 1 more. Yeah, this was it. This is his run attack. So on the player side, I just implemented simple kick to be able to show his hit reactions. So I didn't implement any damage taking, so no one can die here. Yeah, this is how it looks like. So let us see how it was done. I am basing this example off of Bossy enemy animation pack. I remember that once it was a free asset for a month, so there is a big chance that you already have it. So let's discuss collision detection. So for this I am using static melee weapon component, and this is what my plugin gives you, this component. This is a regular static mesh, it's a subclass of static mesh, with the added possibility to trace colliders, simple colliders, as the object is moving through the space. So, yeah, this axe has 3 colliders, 1 for a handle and 2 colliders for the blades. And as he swings them, we're gonna sweep those colliders, and if any hit something, then you're gonna be notified about it. When it comes to, the usual stuff. I've attached this static mesh to his hand. When it comes to collision, those are default, static mesh collisions, and you can still use them. They work exactly like they used to. This tracing functionality is you set up this in this melee weapon damage system tab. Okay, and those old collisions, you work with them exactly like you used to. So in my case, I just set them to no collision. And when it comes to the tracing behavior, so here is the config. By default, this is set up exactly for our use case. So you just drop it here and it will work. There will only one thing you need to set is this object to trace for, and I set it to player mesh. This is a collision channel, collision object channel that my player mesh has. And let me just show you that it really works. So here are there is debug draw path, and I'm gonna set it to 1 and 1. So we're gonna draw for 1 second with a thickness of 1. Okay, so now, because we enable this debug, we should get visualization for swings. Yeah, so here they are. As he swings, we can see the traces that the system is doing under the hood. When it comes to handling the collisions, we can do it in 2 ways. The first one would be to grab in an actor that owns the weapon. We can grab the static melee weapon component. We can bind to on weapon hit event, and here he's gonna give us the weapon that collided. In case you have 2 weapons set up, in our case he has only 1, so this will be the same as this weapon will be the same as the static melee weapon. You can grab collisions array. You can here are all the collisions that happened. and obviously this is an array because we may hit more than one actor. This collisions is an array of collision info structures. You can break the structure. Here a lot of information is given to you. Please refer to the documentation. One of this is hit result. We can further break it. And here we have, you know, component that collided, actor that collided, impact point, normal. And so you can damage the actor here. You know the drill. But the other way to do it, this is my player blueprint. And what do I have here in class settings? He is implementing on hit by melee weapon interface. So, and then I override on hit by melee weapon event. So this triggers every time we are hit by melee weapon. We get a weapon that hit us, and we get the collisions. Those are obviously not all collisions, but only the collisions that happened for this actor. So you may ask why this is an array and not a single entry. So the reason for this is that this static melee weapon, that the static melee weapon is has this report actor once per swing. So as long as this is true, we're gonna be reported only with the first collision that happened for every actor. So in this case, this is gonna have only one element. So you see that I just grab this one element and I cache it in melee hit. But in case this is false, then we're gonna get a lot more information, a lot of more hits, because we're gonna, for example, notify you when the collider is going through the body. So imagine that first the collider hit hand, you're gonna get hit for this. Then he entered pelvis, you're gonna get also hit for this. Then he moved past the pelvis and hit the second hand. In one sweep, you're gonna get a collision info for every collider and every bone that he collided with. Okay, so but typically you will want just the very first collision that happens, so you will have this enabled. So in player, I grab this single melee hit that happened, and then if I am not rolling, because can be damaged is false when I roll, I'll activate hit reaction state. And in hit reaction state, I play some animation, and then I do an interesting thing, because this collision info is giving you information which collider hit. And then I can, as I said, system is tracing those colliders, but look that we can name those colliders. So for example, this weapon, I've decided it will be a special weapon, and each blade is infused with different element. Okay, the left is infused with ice, the one on the right with the fire, and so I've named the colliders appropriately. Handle is just named none. And there are colliders for ice and for fire parts of the weapon. And here I can grab those colliders. I can get query basically for collider name, and then react in a custom way depending on which part was hit. So what I wanted to show you is the ability of my plugin to detect what part of static mesh collided. In case of melee weapons and melee weapon fights, I don't think that you will use it all the time, but there are good use cases for it. So for example, in my game, I have a sword, and I have a collider for a tip, for the tip of the sword, and then for the main part of the blade. So when I detect the hit was made with a tip, then I assume that weapon just barely hit the enemy, and I deal less damage to the enemy. And when I detect the main part collided, then I deal more damage, and also I stop the animation. So to show that the weapon is stuck inside the enemy's body. The other example to use this feature would be for basically any more complex weapons, like for example this one. We have, two very distinct parts. The tip is, is like piercing, and this is like cutting part of the weapon. So if you detect that the piercing part collided, then you can deal, for example, different damage type, and so on and so forth. Also, imagine that you can use this in different genres of games. Like imagine that you have static mesh, that is a plane. This example is in my trailer, by the way, and you fly the plane, and you can detect, and you have different colliders for each part of the plane, for left, right wing, for cockpit, and so on. So when plane hits something, you can detect which part exactly was hit, and detect, and for example damage this part only, or trigger any custom behavior depending on which part collided. Okay, so this is handling collisions. When it comes to player, the history here is exactly the same. He has this. He has a collider that is static melee weapon. This time he is tracing for enemy mesh, and one very important thing I've missed is that to enable sweeping in your animation, you will have this parts when the animation does damage, and you can put melee weapon swing anim notify in here in those places, and then the weapon will start to automatically sweep. This is an option for you. The other way to do it is if you already have some different setup, like for example you have damage start and damage stop events here, and you somehow handle them in blueprints, then you can also call start sweeping and stop sweeping in blueprints. So once again, when it comes to the player, he has this collider that this time is checking for enemy meshes, and this boss character has also on hit by melee weapon interface. He has a hit reaction. He overrides the on hit by melee weapon, and he triggers hit reaction when he detects he was hit. So this concludes this collision detection part. Now let's see how the logic for AI was done using state component. Okay, so when it comes to the logic of the AI, at the beginning I am putting him in the boss idle state. So this is the state that he's just standing doing nothing and awaits for player to move into his vision range. Then I'm in tick. I'm activating different states, and I'm gonna guide you through the from the bottom to top. It will be easier. So at the very end, what I have here is just some debug prints. We are already used to it, that we debug what is happening inside state component by means of this get debug string method, and we are drawing the outcome of this method near the object. So in this case, I am not doing this because this enemy has much more than just a couple of states, and if there is quite a lot of states. Actually, this is not a lot of states, like more than 20 is a lot, but still, as there is more than just a couple of states, this becomes for me quite hard to read. So this is why I don't use it. Instead, I switch to gameplay debugger. As you can see here in gameplay debugger, you have states category and you have states history category. This is basically the same. States category is the same information as this, but color coded, which makes it much more readable. And states history gives you information, which state kicked in, at what timestamp, what it is blocking, which state deactivated, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so this is why I've dropped this. This is why I'm not using this. Oh my god, where are you? Here. No. This. So this is why I am not using this getDebug string. Then I activate keep melee range. So if there is nothing else to do, activate keep melee range for me. And when it comes to this keep melee range, this is just his wandering behavior around the player. So at the beginning, what I do is I cache a random direction, because so this is randomly moving toward left or to the right of the player. And then I have a helper object, which is called movement helper, and then I order him to move to this movement helper. And this movement helper is just a regular actor, just an empty actor. In update, so I obviously order him to move, and I cache this move to task, because in a state stop event, I want to end this task. And in update, I just wander around the player, and this wandering is computing wander location and then setting movement helper to this location. One important thing is that you need to have use continuous goal tracking here. So I just say move to movement helper, never reach the movement helper, but just follow it all the time around. So when it comes to this wander location, this is a lerp between the two positions, A and B. So the A position is a point to the left or to the right, depending on this random boolean, to the player. So this is position, so this is circling the player to the right or to the left, and the B location is going straight the player, is the player's location. So if I am, and I choose A or B depending on the distance from the player. If I am far away, then I want to go directly toward the player. And if I am close, then I lean more towards A, which is circle the player around. Okay, so this is his wandering logic. Then there is attacking. So if I am, two of the attacks that I have, run and combo, are considered long-range attacks. So if I am between 3 and 8 meters, I am activating a random long-range attack. There is quite unusual, at least I think I never showed it, case when it comes to attacking, that we are using the same set of callbacks, start, update, and stop, for not a one state, because this was the story so far, that one set of callbacks was used for one state. But this time I am binding those 3 events to 3 different states, to all of his attacks, right? For run, combo, and swing. So here, when this attack starts in state, I am gonna get one of the 3 possible values. So here I activate some trails on the weapon, I cache exactly which attack happened, and depending on which exactly was it, I play different animation. With the small exception that in run, I just give him a small delay, because I wait for him to turn to the player. It looks extremely stupid when he starts to run, when not facing the player. For example, when he's turned, when he has his back turned to him. So this is why I give him some time to focus, and then I play the animation. And as animation blends out, I am deactivating the attack state. So this is also quite important here, because look that I am deactivating state, and I don't say exactly which attack I am deactivating. I am just using parent tag to all attacks, right? So I say deactivate any attack regarding which one is currently active. I want to remind you that states are divided between leaf states. Those are the ones at the very bottom of the tree that do not have any children, and non-leaves, which are the parent states. So if a function of state component can operate on a non-leaf states, it is stated so in the comment. So here I hover on the deactivate state, and it says allows for non-leaf states. So you can plug parent state. Okay, then I have some notifies. I handle some notifies here. Slam is obviously when he slams his weapon, so then I play some FX. Also, in his animation, I have this focus stop and focus start events. So look, in this part of the animation, his feet are firmly on the ground. So I cannot allow him to move, to rotate toward player, right? Because his feet would slide. So I say focus. So I say focus stop. And here he swings his weapon and he moves his feet. So I can say focus start. So yeah. So this is how I, steer when he can basically turn to the enemy, turn to the player. And then update is empty. And in stop, I am just I am deactivating the traces once again. I am stopping the attack animation that is happening. You may ask here why I am stopping the attack animation when the state is finishing, when the animation already is basically blending out. So there is no point in stopping animation when it is already stopping. So the reason for this is that you should always design your states in such a fashion to be so they can be interrupted. Imagine that in mid-swing he triggers hit reaction. So the hit reaction stops attacking, right? And he needs to be able. So this is why I need to stop animation here. So the state can be properly interrupted. So what I re-enable the focus, because here I mingled with the focus. So at the very end, I made sure that the focus is in its default state, which is enabled. And then in here, I am blocking all attack states for the time between 2 to 6. So after the attack, I am doing cooldown, all attacking, and the cooldown is between 2 and 6. And then what I do is for this attack that was already that he just finished, right? Because I cached it here. For this attack that he already finished, I am overriding. Here is policy restart, so I restart the cooldown for a longer time between 3 and 12. So this is because I want him to choose different attack. Like because this is between 3 and 12 and this is between 2 and 6, so this is likely to be just a longer cooldown. So I override the cooldown for this attack that just ended to mix the attacks, to force him to use another one. So this is attacking. So this is longer attacking using a long range attack. And when he is below 3 meters, I am activating swing attack because this is his close range attack. Then, and at the very top, here I have logic that enters that plays his fancy battle start animation. So when the player is closes in 20 meters and he is in idle state, I am activating combat enter state. Obviously there is also a hit reaction, but we've already discussed it, right? So he overrides this on hit by melee weapon and activates hit reaction state. This is typical animation driven state. So at the start I am playing some montage, and at the end I am just, as the animation blends out, I am deactivating hit reaction. And in stop, the same things, the same rules apply. I once again make sure that the animation is stopping, right? To be able to this is our rule that we should always design states so they will be able to be interrupted. The last thing to discuss are his rules. So what do we have here? In mutually blocking states, there are all attacks. So this means that for as long as any attack is ongoing, any other cannot start. Then in hit reaction blocks combat. So I want to remind you that blocking also means interrupting, stopping. So if hit reactions triggers stop any combat related behavior, be it wandering or any attack that is ongoing, and block combat from happening for as long as hit reaction is ongoing. Idle is blocking keep melee range. So this is why this will not start when at the beginning when he is awaiting for the player to approach him. Then combat is blocking keep melee range. So this is why when he is starting to place some attack, he ceases to wander around the player. Then combat enter animation is blocking attacking. So this is why when he plays this combat enter animation, even if player will move into the attack range, the attack will still not fire, because because of this rule. So this is the logic for AI character, for this AI boss using state component. I hope I did not miss anything, although I'm quite sure I did. So see you in the next example. I hope you like it. Cheers.